Maya Weston had always lived her life by the rules, quietly, neatly, and with the kind of grace that made people trust her without needing explanations. From her earliest memories, she remembered her grandmother whispering that real love wasn't loud. It was steady, and she believed that with all her heart, especially when, at only 14, she met Ryan Wilder. Ryan had freckles, a lopsided grin, and a way of looking at Maya that made the world seem less overwhelming. Their story didn't begin with fireworks. It began with shared homework, long conversations under autumn trees, and silent support during the hardest moments of teenage life. When Maya's mother died in a car accident during senior year, Ryan was the one who held her hand through the funeral, who sat with her in the quiet, and made coffee at dawn when she couldn't sleep. He never left her side, not once. By the time they were both 25, Ryan was thriving in cybersecurity, and Maya had made a name for herself in product marketing at a mid-sized firm. Their wedding was modest but full of laughter, surrounded by friends who knew every twist in their journey. They bought a townhome in West Ridge and built a world full of soft routines and mutual admiration. Friday nights were for takeout and puzzles, Saturday mornings for farmers markets, and Sunday afternoons spent tangled on the couch watching whatever old movie Maya loved that week. For nearly a decade, their life was a portrait of quiet happiness. But Maya, though she never admitted it aloud, began to feel something different by the time she hit her mid-30s. Not sadness, just a certain dullness, like she was still moving, but nothing inside her danced anymore. She still loved Ryan. How could she not? But love wasn't the problem. It was her. She felt like a faded version of herself. Every week blurred into the next. The same coffee mug, the same conversations, the same gentle forehead kisses that once thrilled her now felt like habits rather than gestures of passion. They were still kind, still loyal. But where had the hunger gone? She didn't dare tell Ryan. How could she? He still looked at her with that same warm smile. Still bought her favorite cookies on his way home. Still left sticky notes on the bathroom mirror saying, "Good luck, beautiful." It wasn't him. It was the absence of surprise. The shift truly began when she met Eliza, a new hire at Maya's firm. Eliza was magnetic in the way a bonfire is, bright, dangerous, and impossible to ignore. 30, fiercely independent, always talking about night drives and skydiving weekends. She dressed like freedom. She talked like rebellion. But it wasn't her energy that first captivated Maya. It was how deeply Eliza noticed her. One lunch break, Eliza asked Maya, "Do you ever feel like you're sleepwalking through a life you never really chose?" That line, that damn line stuck like a nail in her ribs. It echoed at night while Maya lay next to Ryan's sleeping form, wondering if he could feel her emotional drift. Soon, the conversations with Eliza deepened. From office banter to personal philosophies. Eliza admitted she had been in an open relationship for 5 years. "Monogamy is just social programming," she said once, licking her spoon after finishing a cup of gelato. "Why limit how much love or desire you can feel?" Maya wanted to disagree. She tried to, but something in her cracked. She started comparing Eliza's fire to Ryan's calm. Eliza's kisses, brief and teasing when Maya finally let herself go too far one Friday night, to the long, predictable kisses from her husband. She knew the moment she crossed a line, and she knew she wasn't coming back unchanged. One night, unable to handle the guilt of her emotional betrayal and the secret physical brush that had already occurred, Maya sat Ryan down. He looked tired that evening, but he still greeted her with a smile, offered her a cup of chamomile, and asked about her day. And she broke him. She told him she wanted to talk about something radical, something modern, something they could try together, so they wouldn't lose their spark. She said the words, "open marriage." The look on Ryan's face was unforgettable. Not rage, not disgust, just quiet devastation. "You mean you already have someone in mind?" he said flatly. Maya tried to deny it. She mentioned Eliza, her ideas, her lifestyle, her freedom. But Ryan was too sharp to miss the signs. He said nothing that night, just packed a bag and slept on the couch. The silence in the house the next morning was worse than yelling. But Maya still believed there was a way to fix it, to make it exciting again. She convinced herself that maybe if they tried it together, it would heal the cracks. She didn't realize until much later. The first crack wasn't in the marriage. It was in her soul. The night Ryan agreed to attend the party with Maya, something shifted in him. Not forgiveness, not acceptance, just a slow, icy detachment. He told her, "I'll go. Not because I believe in it, because you need it." Those words should have warned her. But Maya was too tangled in her own fantasy. The delusion that something new, something bold, could somehow breathe life back into the quiet graveyard of their intimacy. She spent an hour picking out the right outfit. Something elegant, not flashy. She wanted Ryan to want her again, to remember the woman he'd fallen in love with, to see her as a woman others wanted too. That was the truth she wouldn't admit, even to herself. When she stepped out in a deep burgundy dress, Ryan barely looked up. His buttoned shirt was ironed, his hair combed, but his eyes, those brown eyes that once followed her every move with warmth, tonight, they were cold mirrors. The drive to the mansion was wordless. The only sound was the faint click of the turn signal and the whisper of tires against the wet road. Maya tapped her nails against her clutch. Ryan stared straight ahead. When they arrived, the house stood like a temple to temptation. Large gates, low lights, laughter floating from inside. Maya swallowed her nerves. Ryan's jaw clenched. Eliza met them at the door, like a high priestess of seduction. Her silk jumpsuit shimmered. Her lips were wine red. She kissed Maya on the cheek. When she turned to Ryan, her smile faltered. She sensed it, the storm behind his politeness. The inside was surreal. Wine glasses clinked. Hands touched backs lightly. Couples mingled like characters in a dream that tiptoed the line between elegance and sin. Maya's heart raced. She wasn't sure if it was excitement or shame. They moved through the rooms. Brooke, Eliza's friend, explained the rules. Consent is everything. No pressure. You choose your experience. Ryan nodded, said nothing. A man in a tailored navy suit approached them, his partner, a blonde with sharp green eyes, hovering beside him. They made polite conversation, talked about literature, dogs, and favorite wines. Then, casually, the woman touched Ryan's arm. The man complimented Maya's posture. Something snapped. Ryan's mouth moved, forming careful, restrained replies. But Maya saw the vein in his temple twitch. She pulled him aside to a corner of the room where no one lingered. "You okay?" she asked, voice low. "No," he answered honestly. "I feel like I'm walking through someone else's hallucination." "I thought we agreed." "No," he cut her off, eyes now finally blazing. "You agreed. I'm surviving." For a second, she hated herself, but her pride wouldn't let her say it. They stayed another 20 minutes. Maya tried to mingle. Ryan drifted. When she turned around, he was gone. She found him in the car, forehead resting against the steering wheel, breath shallow. He didn't look up as she got in. "I'm sorry," she said. He didn't reply. The ride home was a requiem. When they reached their apartment, he walked in, grabbed his backpack, and started tossing in clothes, socks, underwear, jeans, old hoodies. Maya stood by the door, frozen. "What are you doing?" she whispered. "I'm leaving." "For how long?" "I don't know. Long enough to find myself again." "You said you'd try." "I did. I walked into that house, Maya. I listened to strangers flirt with my wife. I watched you enjoy it. That's not fair." "No. What's not fair is you calling it love when what you really wanted was permission to cheat." Her breath caught. He zipped the bag, swung it over his shoulder, and paused. His eyes finally softened. "I loved you," he said, "but I don't recognize you anymore. And I won't keep shrinking just to fit inside a fantasy you've built on someone else's rules." Then he left, and Maya broke. The apartment was unbearably quiet. She couldn't bring herself to move his mug from the sink. His hoodie still hung on the back of a chair, and every time she walked by it, she wanted to scream. Eliza called the next day. "How'd it go?" "I don't know," Maya muttered. He left. Eliza was quiet for a beat. "Well, that's his journey," she finally said. But the words felt empty. Days passed. Maya tried to focus at work, but even Eliza's laughter sounded hollow now. She drank wine at night, watching old movies that once made her cry. Now they just made her numb. A week later, Ryan came back, but not to stay. He came to say goodbye. They sat at the kitchen table, the same one they'd once used to play cards and laugh over spilled pasta sauce. He said the love was still there, but it was now a source of pain, not peace. He wanted a divorce. Maya didn't argue. She just cried. And when he left again, that time it was for good. But what happened next? That's when the real story began. Ryan had left, but he hadn't disappeared. He was watching and planning. He wasn't a man who screamed. He was a man who studied the battlefield before launching a war. And Maya had no idea what was coming. Ryan didn't go to a friend's house. He didn't check into a hotel or disappear into a haze of sadness like Maya might have imagined. He went to his brother's place in East Elm, a quiet apartment above a garage, filled with just enough distance and silence to think. But Ryan wasn't grieving anymore. He was calculating. For days, he sat at a fold-out desk with his old laptop and spreadsheets. On the surface, he was coding freelance projects, his usual fallback. But beneath that calm digital surface, he was dissecting every part of his life with Maya, quietly, meticulously. Because if Maya had built her fantasy on illusion, Ryan would build something real. And he would make sure she saw it. He never wanted to destroy her. But he wanted her to understand what it felt like to be discarded like a tired piece of furniture in someone else's emotional renovation. He remembered everything. The way her eyes shifted when she talked about Eliza. The tone in her voice when she defended the concept of freedom. The soft guilt she wrapped her betrayal in, hoping it would feel like liberation. He wasn't angry anymore. He was awakened. He opened a private journal app and began typing entries. Not to heal, but to document every shift. He called it the Maya collapse. Each entry detailed a part of their history. The first time she held his hand, their first apartment, her favorite coffee blend, the way her laughter used to erupt during bad movies. And then the changes, the distant smiles, the distracted touches, the absences she disguised as late nights at work. It was all there. Ryan also started reaching out to people, quietly, former friends they'd lost touch with, old colleagues, and eventually, a woman named Natalie, an acquaintance from college who had once asked Maya for freelance marketing advice, but was coldly dismissed. Ryan remembered that conversation clearly. He remembered how Natalie had walked away, humiliated. She was a branding consultant now, working with emotional recovery brands and public storytelling campaigns. When Ryan contacted her, she was intrigued. He didn't give her the whole story, just fragments, just enough. This is about regaining your narrative, Natalie told him. Not revenge, ownership. He nodded. Exactly. But he did want revenge. Only not the kind that burned houses. The kind that rewired hearts. Meanwhile, Maya was unraveling. She stopped going to lunch with Eliza. Her phone buzzed with messages. Eliza's check-ins, suggestive jokes, guilt-laced invitations. But Maya ignored them. Then came the afternoon that ended it all. They were sitting in a corner cafe, the sun streaking through the windows, their lattes untouched. Maya stared at Eliza. Are you ever afraid someone will find out? Eliza arched a brow. About what? Everything. The parties. The lifestyle. Eliza laughed. Please. My fiancé doesn't even know. And he won't. Maya blinked. What? I mean, what he doesn't know won't hurt him. It's not like I'm still going. That was just a phase. Maya's pulse quickened. But you told me. I told you what you needed to hear, Eliza said with a shrug. You were drowning in routine. You needed a push. Something snapped in Maya's chest. She stared at Eliza like a stranger. So it was all just entertainment to you? Eliza didn't flinch. Freedom looks different for everyone. You were born, Maya. I gave you options. You gave me a coffin, she whispered. Maya stood up, grabbed her bag, and walked out without another word. That night, for the first time, she couldn't stop shaking. She poured herself a drink, but her hand trembled too much to lift it. She sat in the corner of her living room, alone, without Ryan, without Eliza, without her lies. She was officially free and utterly destroyed. 2 weeks later, a letter arrived in Maya's mailbox. It wasn't from Ryan. It was from an attorney. An invitation. Private. Maya's stomach dropped. The location was a gallery downtown, neutral ground. When she arrived, she was stunned to see not just a lawyer, but Natalie sitting at a table beside Ryan, who looked different, composed, sharp, alive. Maya, he said calmly, have a seat. She sat, confused, heart pounding. Ryan slid a tablet across the table. What's this? Everything you never noticed while you were busy chasing something better. On the screen was a campaign, a brand, reclamation. A video played, a soft-spoken narrator detailing how emotional betrayal in long-term relationships doesn't always come with screaming and cheating, but sometimes with gaslighting disguised as empowerment. It featured dramatized scenes eerily similar to their own. The narrator said, "Sometimes, when someone tells you they need freedom, what they really mean is they've stopped seeing you as a person. You become furniture in their life. Quiet. Still. Always there. Until you aren't." Maya's hands trembled. "This is going live next week," Ryan said softly. "It's not about you. Not by name. But it's about people like you. People who burn bridges and expect the smoke to make them look mystical." Tears welled in her eyes. "Why are you doing this?" "Because I needed a way to speak," he said. "You silenced me with philosophy. With language you borrowed from someone who never even believed it herself. You rewrote our marriage in real time." He leaned forward. "And now, I'm writing the ending." This wasn't a revenge that shouted. It whispered, but it echoed forever. The next morning, Maya woke up with a dull ache in her chest and 1,000 messages flooding her inbox. The campaign had gone viral. Reclamation was everywhere. It had been picked up by 3 major online magazines. The story, a man's journey of emotional betrayal inside a modern marriage experiment, was being shared under headlines like "When Loyalty is Branded Boring," and "He Watched Her Drift." Then he reclaimed his voice. Ryan hadn't named her. Not once. But everyone who knew them knew. She couldn't walk into the office without feeling eyes on her. Eliza had taken a leave of absence to process some things. HR called Maya in for a casual meeting. Nothing formal, but the message was clear. Keep your personal life out of the public eye. The silence she once sought now screamed in every corner of her existence. Worse were the anonymous comments on the campaign page. "She sounds like the kind of woman who reads one BuzzFeed article about polyamory and ruins a perfectly good man. You can tell he didn't want revenge. He wanted truth. That's what makes it sting." This hit harder than any cheating story I've read. He watched her leave emotionally, and she expected applause for it. Maya logged off. She couldn't take it. That weekend, she didn't leave the apartment. She stopped answering calls. Even her father, who had always been distant but respectful, sent her a message. "If you need to talk, I'm here. I saw the video. I'm sorry." She stared at the screen until it dimmed and shut off. The only voice she wanted to silence was her own, the one that had screamed for freedom, not realizing it was asking to be alone. One rainy Monday, Maya walked into a therapy office. A kind woman named Talia greeted her without judgment, offered her tea, and asked her a question that cracked her wide open. "When did you stop believing you deserved to be loved simply and fully?" The tears came before she could even answer. For the next few weeks, therapy became a refuge. Her stories poured out, the routines that began to suffocate, the loneliness that crept in quietly, the admiration she felt for Eliza, and the shame that had infected every corner of her mind. Talia never interrupted. She just asked why, again and again, until Maya couldn't hide behind blame anymore. "I think," Maya whispered once, "I mistook boredom for pain, and I mistook validation for desire." "That's honest," Talia replied gently. "That's where healing begins." Meanwhile, Ryan's life was evolving. Reclamation gained momentum. Natalie scheduled interviews. He was invited onto podcasts, reluctantly, but he went, not because he wanted attention, but because other people, men especially, began to write to him. Hundreds. They told stories about being left behind silently, about being told they were emotionally too stable to be exciting, about being shamed for not growing fast enough when their partners discovered new philosophies of love. Ryan read each one. He responded to most, but he never gloated, never trashed Maya, not once. His revenge was never about making her suffer. It was about making sense of his pain. One night, after an especially powerful podcast aired, he got a message from a stranger that said, "Thank you. You put into words what I never had the courage to say. I thought I was crazy. I thought maybe it really was my fault for not being modern enough." He stared at that message for 10 minutes, and he realized something profound. He was finally free. Back in the apartment Maya once called home, everything had changed. She donated the burgundy dress. She blocked Eliza. She deleted every photo that didn't feel like her. She returned to painting, a passion she'd abandoned years ago when life had become a series of grocery lists and budget spreadsheets. And most importantly, she started writing. It wasn't much. A journal at first, then a blog. Anonymous. Raw. She called it what I missed while trying to be interesting. It didn't go viral, but it healed her. Every post was a confession. Of vanity. Of self-deception. Of how we sometimes chase newness when we're too afraid to repair the old. She wrote about Eliza. About the party. About the way she watched her husband's hands tremble when he drove them home. And one day, weeks later, when she opened her email, there it was. One reply. From Ryan. He didn't say much. I read your last entry. I know it's you. I don't hate you. But I don't miss you. I hope that means we're both healing. Be well. R. Maya cried harder than she had in months. Not because she wanted him back, but because she knew that was the final goodbye. The kind that came without rage. Only truth. Months passed. Maya no longer waited for Ryan's messages. His final email stayed pinned in her inbox, unread again and again, but never deleted. It reminded her of closure, a gentle ending to a life that had already burned quietly to the ground. She moved out of their old apartment. Too many ghosts lived there. She found a smaller place, one with chipped walls and crooked shelves, but it was hers. She chose every piece of furniture with care this time. Nothing borrowed, nothing shared, just hers. She still painted at night, still wrote on her blog, never for attention, only for honesty. And over time, a few women began messaging her. Quietly, privately. Some said they had walked away from stable men chasing fire, only to get burned. Others said they envied her courage, even if they didn't agree. She always replied with the same words. Don't chase freedom that costs you your soul. One Sunday, while browsing a bookstore downtown, she saw Ryan. He was across the room, flipping through a biography. He looked different, cleaner, lighter, like someone who had survived the fire and built something new from the ashes. For a second, she considered walking up, but then she saw the woman beside him. Not flashy, not loud, just present. They looked at each other like they'd built their own language. Ryan laughed quietly, said something, and the woman playfully nudged him with her elbow. Maya turned before he could see her. She didn't cry. She didn't ache. She just smiled, because he was okay. And so was she. Later that night, Maya wrote one last blog post. I loved a man who saw me before I saw myself. I lost him trying to find more. But the truth is, he was always enough. I just wasn't ready to stop searching. I'm not proud of who I was, but I'm proud I changed. I don't know what love looks like for me now, but I know what it doesn't look like, performance. I'm done performing. She hit publish, then closed the laptop, and for the first time in a very long time, she didn't feel broken, just human and free.